Hello, everyone. My name is Adam Umran, and today I will be discussing the false dilemma logical fallacy. A false dilemma, also known as a false dichotomy, happens when two options are presented as if they're the only available solutions to an issue in a black or white format, often when there are multiple alternatives. This type of reasoning makes arguments appear way more straightforward than they really are. It is a typical either or mindset. Either you support one side completely or you are diehard against it. In reality, most scenarios involve a range of perspectives or possibilities, and by framing a question as an either or scenario, creates a false dichotomy or a false dilemma, and it forces people to choose sides involuntarily. This fallacy was first examined by Aristotle in his work Sophistical Refutations, where he found reasoning errors that come from either or statements. He recognized that these kind of arguments often excluded alternatives and led to an incomplete logic. Later, during the medieval era, his scholars continued to study this concept and they focused on what is called the principle of logical completeness. The idea that with reasoning, one must consider all possible outcomes, not just both of the extremes. When that fails to happen and we end up ignoring the middle ground, the trap of the false dilemma happens. Today, this fallacy appears constantly in modern media, and it is easy to use because it simplifies issues and pushes people to take your side. One well known example from President George W. Bush's speech after the 9/11 attacks, he stated either you are with us or you are with the terrorists.
Every nation in every region now has a decision to make. Either you are with us or you are with the terrorists. From this day forward, any nation that continues to harbor or support terrorism will be regarded by the United States as a hostile regime.
That statement frames a complex geopolitical issue into a simple A versus B choice, suggesting that disagreement was the equivalent to opposition. It is an effective emotional appeal for a speech, but logically, it is a very clear false dilemma. Some more recent false dilemma fallacies were during the COVID-19 shutdown, where President Trump posed the solution as either we preserve our way of life or we protect our lives by shutting everything down. This implies that the nation had to choose one or the other. However, framing this completely ignored the balanced approaches that were possible, such as phased reopening plans and hybrid work systems, etc. And similarly, Charlie Kirk once stated, I think that it is worth to have the cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so we can have the Second Amendment right to protect our God given rights. Just because we have our Second Amendment doesn't mean that there has to be gun deaths every single year. There is a very clear common ground that can be found, whether it is stronger background checks or whatnot. The fallacy of either people have to die so we can protect ourselves or no guns at all is what is being presented here at hand. So, some really popular false dilemmas that students deal with in their everyday lives is the you need to be in college to be successful dilemma. It implies that there are either two paths. Either you go to school and you study for the next 4 years, or you fail and you don't make any money, which is an outdated it's an outdated approach. But it's still ingrained in many cultures where it's you have to go study to become a certain profession or else you're a failure. And that is simply not true anymore. There are many career paths outside of school to become successful financially. And then one of my personal favorite fallacies, well, false dilemma fallacies, is in modern media, which is the if you are not with me, then you are my enemy. I think it's a great example from Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. I highly recommend. And how to fix the false dilemma fallacy. So, the first step is to acknowledge that the answers to the question are not exclusive outcomes, as in one can't happen, like both of them can't happen. If the dilemma forces a side on a matter, simply explain that there's a middle ground where both sides are right and wrong, which is known as the escaping the horns of the dilemma. Another solution is to instantly refute one of the positions stated. For example, if the first claim has direct evidence against it, the false dilemma is immediately mitigated and avoided. And here are my sources. Thank you for watching.